Hey, it's Joel. Next to me in this big box is the Raise3D E2 3D printer, and our friends at Raise sent it over because they want us to get it out of the box and show you how well it prints. How well does it print? Well, let's find out together, right here on 3D Printing Nerd. Welcome back. I've got the Evan and Caitlin knife ready, and we need to get this machine out of the box, but as most people know, unboxing can be a little boring. So, Sean, make it interesting. The machine is out of the box, we've powered it on, we've removed clamps from the inside, and we've meticulously removed plastic coating from the top and the front in the most severe way possible. I hope you enjoyed that little unboxing scenario that we put forth to you. Now though the machine is on and we need to configure it. So English is going to be my language of choice. I'm going to hit start. Hey, look at that. Welcome to the setup of your new Raise3D E2. Oh, it looks like it tells us to remove those clamps, but I already did that. It's handy that they actually take you through that, so that's good. Are you sure all locks have been removed? I'm gonna hit yes. And the grinding sound produced during this process is normal. Do not be alarmed. If I pop that open, what's happening inside is very similar to how other machines level the x-axis. It brings both towers up to the very, very top, and then it gives it a little extra, just to make sure that it is perpendicular to the z-axis. And now we can remove this tray of wonderful stuff from the inside because the x-axis has moved out of the way. This is handy and something I want to point out. This is a fully enclosed machine, and I'm able to open the front door a full 180 degrees, which gets it out of the way completely for anyone needing to get inside the machine to remove a print or do any sort of maintenance. That's super handy. There we go.
That's packed well.
This is crazy. Wow. Okay, so we get our first peek on the inside, and it's got a removable build tack surface, and it looks like I can just set it back there, and it's got the two extruders. Ooh, it's got a nice linear rail right here on X. Looks like Y is on smooth rods. Z is 2 different smooth rods per tower, and it looks like it's got a lead screw. I see a camera on the inside. It's got some lights. There's the tubing, and filament is loaded from either side. Okay, here's an option, and you get to configure it from the get-go. Do you want to pause the machine when a door is opened? This is very important to consider if this machine is going to be a part of a makerspace or an educational facility, because if younger kids or people who aren't as experienced want to take a closer look inside, we may not want the machine running while they do that in case hands, fingers, toes get in the way.
'Tis but a scratch. A scratch?
I am not going to pause this when I open the door. Please select the function that the power button can be used for. So this little button over here is the power button. I can do a short press to turn off the LED lights on the inside, a short press to turn off the screen, and press and hold for 10 seconds to restart the printer. All those options sound good for defaults. I'm just going to accept them and hit next. It is cloud-based. That's cool. We've done an episode on the Raise Cloud before, and this machine looks like it can hook up to the Raise Cloud just like my N2 Plus and my Pro 2 Plus. We'll have to do that another time. And we are done. Look at done. Done. That's a done screen and a done button. Okay, most likely the machine is restarting at this point, or not, because look at that. Let's start printing. Would you like to continue? Yes. This is handy. It gives us little video tidbits that tell us about each step of the way. So it wants us to remove the PTF tube from the quick coupling. It wants us to put in the filament spool rollers and then push the filament towards the extruder. All right, let's get it installed. I've done the steps. I'm gonna hit the next button. And it says press load to begin the loading. Here we go. So this is familiar right here. This is the Raise3D way of showing you the temperature that it needs to achieve and the temperature it's currently at. It's going to look for 215C, and it's slowly heating it up on the side. It looks like it's gaining 10C for every couple seconds.
A few moments later.
As it's pulling the filament down, I can clip in the PTFE tube. And now I can also see, if I bring this over, there's some filament coming out. It was originally black, but it's starting to look red. Black is a heavy pigment compared to the red, so we need to let the red run just a little bit to make sure it's clear. And I see clear red, well, not clear red, but clearly it's red filament, which means now I can hit next. Oh yeah, it's in the gears, and then press OK. Perfect! Filament is loaded. So now it's giving us a guided tour of where to go. So I'm going to tap on local storage. I'm going to choose this print, which is a Raise3D coin. It's going to do it at 0.2 millimeter layers. The shell is going to be 0.8 millimeters, infill 3%. And it gives us a lot of details on the print here. We don't actually need all of that. We just need to hit the print button. It's good to know in case. Okay, the machine is homing the bed. It's homing the left extruder. Let's see. It's bringing the left extruder out, and there's a little leveling sensor here, and this is for assisted bed leveling. And one of the things I've mentioned in the past, especially on the N2 Plus review, is that it didn't have assisted bed leveling, and there was a lot of leveling screws. This one, they've listened to me. I'm going to call this the Joel feature. Auto bed leveling or assisted bed leveling. I'm excited for what's ahead. I took a look in the E2 3D printer quick start guide, and what's happening right now is the machine is performing a 9-point leveling procedure before the print. It looks like that's something that just happens every print as long as it's enabled, but according to this, I can disable that if I want to. And then it's going to home X and Y to make sure it's got the right position. Ah, okay, this looks like a nozzle prime procedure. It's going to spit filament out of the nozzle towards the edge of the bed in order to make sure the filament is ready at the nozzle for when it needs to extrude for the model. So this is where you can kind of verify flow and that you have the correct color coming out and you have enough filament coming out of the nozzle. And there we go. Even with this door open, the machine is really quiet, and this is in line with the N2 Plus and the Pro 2 Plus that I've tested. Let me see if I can't close that other door. That's not too bad. You can hear an exhaust fan that's got a filter behind it. So there is an exhaust fan here, but other than that, the machine is pretty quiet. And I'm guessing this is because they're aiming for educational facilities and maker spaces and more first-time or introductory level users. We'll see if this offers the features that a power user such as myself and many of you out there. But so far, this was impressive because the machine was packaged well. There's no damage to it. The box looked good. The print was started with ease. The first run experience was guided, and it provided a lot of detail for what you needed to know. I'm kind of excited. We'll have a look at it when it's done, and depending on the results, we may print a lot more things. We'll see you in a bit.
3 days later.
Let's see if I can reach. Am I close?
You got it. You got it.
Okay, I got it. So the print is now done, and this is what it looks like. This is Raise3D PLA, and this is the example print that the printer provides. I think it did a fantastic job. Look at that, it spins. It works as intended. But what's great is, look at this! I have a bunch of other prints that we've printed to get an idea of how this machine performs, and we used specific filaments. Let me go get those. I don't want to spill it. These are the filaments that we used to get an initial impression of the E2. From the top, we've got Repcord Green PLA. Next up, we've got the ugly Protopasta HT PLA that Tom tried to create when he was visiting. Below that is Repcord Orange PLA. Below that is FotisMint Mystic Green. Below that, I believe, is the Raise3D ABS. Under that is FotisMint PETG. Under that is Raise PLA. And then finally under that is Raise3D PLA. So we used a varied amount of filament. I think this gives us a good sample size, and I'm gonna put it back without spilling it. Like I said, we did test various filaments, and first up is PLA. These are all in PLA. Oh my goodness, I'm still going. It's a lot of PLA here, which is fine because PLA is one of the most easy to print filaments, and with the market that this is aiming for, there's a good chance a lot of those prints are gonna be in PLA. We should start up here. These are the spinners. I did also print this example spinner in the Repcord Orange PLA, and just to verify, it does spin. I also found the STL, sliced it myself, and used Dual Extrusion to make the centerpiece in Protopasta PLA. And it spins pretty well. Take a look at that, though. I want you to see those sidewalls. Look at that print quality. I think the machine did a phenomenal job with this. Obviously, I wasn't able to determine fine-tuned settings for the filament, but I think what I have is decent. Here's the miniJoel. We know we always print the miniJoel to kind of get an idea of how a machine performs, and I think the miniJoel looks great. miniJoel crotch is adequate. Adequate. We got Chuck Hellebuck's little, what is that? That is a pawn. It's, the print quality could be a little bit better, but my guess is had I had time to tune settings for this specific PLA, it would have been better. And there's a dual Pikachu. Look at that. Pika, Pika. No, no, no. This is from Flowalistik. We did encounter some failures with the PLA, and I want to talk about those. First up, this right here. I noticed that the red raised PLA was performing just fine, but the white raised PLA broke loose from the platform. And what I suspect happened was that the auto mesh bed leveling that the E2 performed wasn't precise enough for the right extruder. And I know that offsets are in play. And so instead of actually changing something on the machine in Raise3D's own idea maker slicer software, what I did is set a Z offset slightly lower than 0. That meant that the extruders were going to squish into the build tack just a little bit more, giving it a little bit of better adhesion. And sure enough, these are some hands here. These are hands. And what's great about this print is this was a mirror print. So within Idea Maker, I loaded this hand, and then I specified mirroring to the other extruder, and so it printed a mirror copy at the same time. I think it's only fair that we take off the support material as well. There we go. That's not too shabby. Have a look under there. That's the surface that actually contacted the raft. That looks pretty good. Raise recommends that when doing mirror or duplication printing, you do use a raft, and I believe that has to do with the offset of right and left independent extruders not being exactly the same. I just followed the instructions and everything turned out great. There we go. That's pretty good. I like that a lot. So the settings were tuned in, and I've got now, I have hands. This, as you know, is Baby Yoda, or the child, or whatever Jon Favreau decides to call this thing in season 2. I did experience a failure here, and it almost made it Canadian.
You are a bad man!
The problems had to do with this machine, but not what you would expect. When printing with PLA, it's recommended, even on their older machines, the Pro 2 Plus and the N2 Plus, which I've used extensively, that you take the top cover off when printing PLA. PLA it melts at a lower temperature, and if you have the top on, it will keep the heat of the build plate inside, which could then cause heat creep and a failure. So when I was printing this Yoda, the top was down, and unfortunately, it did fail. Thinking, I know how to fix this, I went and opened the top of the printer, and I printed this. I did have to shrink it down because I was running out of time, but it actually turned out pretty okay. This is the Mystic Green, and this is the Repcord Green PLA right there. I think that's a good representation of the child, or Mini Yoda. This was printed with supports and with a raft, and I printed it with a wipe wall. I think it's what it's called. It's a wipe wall, where it builds an extrusion around the model, so when left and right extruders come in, it's able to make sure anything that is oozed out of the nozzle doesn't actually impact the model itself. And it looks great. I think that looks good. One of the things I do want to show, though, I want you to see this right here. So even though this was a failure, this one was not. Looking at 0.2 millimeter layer heights, and it created this very, very smooth part of the model. It's smooth to the touch. It's great. I think it did a wonderful job. Next up, I moved to PETG, and I printed this one right here. This is the decoration cube, I think. It's fantastic. It looks so good. I'm so impressed with this. Yes, there is a little bit of wisps of filament. The PETG I was using wasn't properly dried before putting it into the machine, and so we're going to get a little bit of wisps when compared to material that is properly prepared. When printing with material that is prepared properly, that's a lot of P words, geez. But things like this can be solved with a lighter or a hairdryer or a heat gun. But even with the wisps there, you can tell that the print quality on this is fantastic. It looks amazing, and I am extremely happy with this. The only change to default profile, geez.
P words, man.
The only change to default profiles within Idea Maker was to up the bed temperature from 60°C to 70°C. The rest just did itself in a nice way right there. We did attempt PETG with Vase mode, and we'll show this one first. So, oh my goodness, I broke it. I actually broke this taking it off of the build platform. Have a look at that though. This is PETG, and this is in a single Vase mode wall. The extrusions are near perfect. It's smooth to the touch, and it just looks cool. It looks cool. That red is amazing. What I did do after this, though, I thought I should properly dry this filament. So I stuck it in my filament dryer for 24 hours, and then I came back to it and I loaded it back up, printed another vase, and it's actually one piece. Well, almost. It's very delicate, I think would be the right way to say it. So if you look there, the problem with this in vase mode is that the bottom layer intersects with extrusions that aren't really on top of each other. And it's almost printing some of those in thin air, or very close to being in thin air. And so the problem then is there's no adhesion at the bottom, so the bottom of this vase falls out. What I could do to fix this is lower the Z of the model until it gets to a flat point, which I know then the extrusions would be on top of each other, and we wouldn't have the fragile vase that we have here. But again, even with both of these, I mean, the look is fantastic. It looks amazing. It extruded PETG, no problem. PETG, of course, melts at a higher temperature than PLA, so we're able to print with the enclosure, and that probably helps it just a bit. Finally, I do want to talk about ABS. And I know I don't typically print with ABS, but I think ABS is a really good indicator of how well the machine is performing temperature-wise and how well it can control ambient temperature. And it printed these. Let's see. There we go. These printed at the same time on the build plate, and I believe it brought the build plate to 100°C, and it brought the extruder to 250°C, I want to say. And these are default ABS profiles within Idea Maker. And I loaded these. These are fan shrouds for the Pro 2 Plus. It comes with black printed fan shrouds, but it gives you the option to reprint them if for some reason they break or fail. So I went with white ABS, and they are so good. Oh, it's so good. The best part was it was printed without support, and it has some crazy overhangs there. You can tell that, is it this one? Let's see, that part right there. Obviously, it's having to create a bit of a bridge there, and some of these just didn't stick. That one didn't, and I think we've got a couple of them that aren't sticking right there as well. But, I mean, we're talking about this thin wall right here being built up without any warping or any instability. And then these come out. Not only do these look good, these are useful. These are exactly what this machine should be doing for a lot of its lifetime, is printing functional, awesome parts. And it does it really well with ABS. I like this. I hit a button and it printed ABS, and it looks great. So that's where we're at. Finally, I know we should probably mention the price. The price for this machine, the MSRP is $3,499 US. And I know that according to Raise3D, we reached out, there are discounts for education available, and you would just need to contact them. I think that price is a fair price for this offering within that market. So at this point, I think it's safe to assume that Raise3D's entry into the bed slinging dual independent extruder market is good. The machine is able to print various filaments, and it's able to do it incredibly well. I know that software plays a large part in how something is going to print, but the default profiles within Idea Maker for the E2 are great. I think they've done a great job tuning those, and I've produced a lot of really, really great models here. I think most importantly though, just for having this for a couple weeks, it's instilled trust in me. I now trust this machine to print things for me without having to watch over it, making sure it's not going to fail. I did have some failures, but I learned from these, and now I can print with this even better. Plus, with this machine being fully enclosed and quiet and able to make great designs come to life, I could easily see something like this in an educational facility or an engineering program at a school somewhere. This is just first impressions though. This isn't a full review of this machine. Yes, we've printed a lot with it, but here's where it gets awesome, because I want to hear from you. What do you want to see printed on the E2 3D printer from Raise3D? I have a link in the description, and if you click it, it's a form where you can fill out your name and email and give me a link to a model you want to see printed on this. We are preparing a future episode, and who knows, maybe your model that you've suggested will be seen. I guess time will tell. But anyway, click that link in the description and give me some ideas on what you want to see printed with this. Be brand specific with Filament if you like, and I'll do my best to get it if I don't have it. Well, we've reached the end, and I hope you've enjoyed this. If you want more information on this machine, of course, there's a link in the description. A big thanks to Raise3D for providing this machine to me for review purposes. Anything I've said in this video is my own opinion and is not sponsored or endorsed by Raise in any way. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you made it this far, because if you did, you are awesome. Don't forget to hug each other more, because I love you all. And as always, high five.